Welcome to the Successful Invisible Podcast, Episode 10, Red Flags and Toxic Dating Behaviors. Welcome to the Successful Invisible. I'm your host, Janelle, a life coach with a niche in relationship coaching. I'm speaking to my professional ladies out there who are 35 plus and seeking their happily ever after, and are ready to embrace the challenge and journey of dating with more intentionality. Trigger warning, there is a bit of swearing involved. Today, we're going to dig into some red flags and toxic dating behaviors that will help you learn a little more about yourself as well as those whom you date. This episode is perfect for anyone who wants to understand some red flags and toxic dating behaviors they may be engaging in, learn about red flags and toxic dating behaviors you may not know about, and learn my personal take on the gambit of these issues. Hello and welcome. I am so excited to shoot today's episode. So this is the final episode of this first season, and I'm so excited to bring this to you because this is kind of like real-time feedback that I've gotten or conversations I've engaged in about toxic dating behaviors and red flags. I noticed a lot of these things coming up in recent coaching sessions with my clients as well as in conversations with friends. So specifically, today's episode was inspired by a recent get-together I had with some friends as we enjoyed this holiday season. It's around the holidays when I'm shooting this. There were about 14 of us at this gathering, and some are married, but many of us are also actively dating. As per the usual, when drinks and food are involved, the broader discussion turned to relationships. Now, there are 3 couples that were in this group, all at different stages of marriage, 2 years, 7 years, and 13 years. And some of them also have children. I have friends that are married as well as those who are not married. There are also a couple of divorcees in this group, so they have a completely different perspective on dating and relationships as well. Throughout the evening, talk turned from the married couples giving nuggets of wisdom about things they've learned since being married to asking those of us who are single and actively dating about some of our experiences. And oh boy, that was a lively conversation. It turned into a debate at some turns, etc. But all in all, it was great fun. And I have to admit, I learned a lot. It was surprising and very enlightening to hear a mix of what my friends, both men and women, had to say about their current experiences and expectations in dating. So after thinking about some of the points that really stuck with me the most from that evening, I decided to break down some toxic dating behaviors and red flags that came up. Please note, this list is in no way comprehensive or complete. These are simply items that came out of the conversations that I was having with my friends. Toxic dating behavior. Being a hobosexual. Okay, to be clear, this has nothing to do with someone's sexual orientation. And what I stated was hobosexual. Hobosexual. I heard this on TikTok about a month or so ago, and then I heard one of my friends mention it at our gathering. I think this is actually a thing. A hobosexual is a person, whether they be man or woman, who dates people and quickly moves in with them in order to have a roof over their heads. These individuals actually stay in a relationship just to have shelter. Many times they're manipulative up front and they make a lot of false promises in order to get in the good graces of the person that they're dating so they can move in. Why these individuals may not have permanent shelter of their own, who knows? It could be just that they are a freeloader or a mooch, or it could be other reasons. But the end result is on the person that they're dating is they move in very quickly into their home so they have a place to stay. This is definitely a toxic dating behavior that people should be aware of and look out for if someone is trying to move too quickly in the dating phases or getting to know one another to the point where they can move in with someone or visit someone's home. Now, I understand everyone's stance is different about living with a significant other, but I would say if anyone's moving too fast, that is definitely a red flag. And the toxic dating behavior that is the result of that is someone being a hobosexual. Next one, red flag, saying you're the nice guy. So many women have expressed to me that their minds automatically scream run if a guy ever says he is a nice guy. I believe the reason for this is very multifaceted, but if you think about it, in the real world, as well as in movies, a very real menace or the villain has been the quote unquote nice guy. From serial killers in real life to movie villains, the nice guy is definitely more than just a trope. Also, a man who labels himself a nice guy might feel women owe him something. Oftentimes, this is a very entitled individual. They usually feel that sex is owed to them after a certain time period that they deem appropriate in their mind, others' opinion notwithstanding, because they are presenting this nice guy image. Oftentimes, what I've seen both from working with clients and talking to male friends who fall under this nice guy, air quotes, theme is a lot of times they're hiding motives. They're hiding motives about what they really want. And that is a toxic dating behavior, to hide those motives. And the red flag is they're saying that they're nice guys. Also, I've heard this from clients, and I've seen this in movies as well, that the nice guy is the first one to turn stalker, kidnapper, crazy when things don't pan out the way he wants them to with a woman because of this entitled spirit that they feel, someone owes him something for being nice. One thing I have come to understand that guys who label themselves the nice guy are trying to portray a certain image, as we all are to some extent. But here's a hint. Forget about being nice. Focus on being a kind, respectful human being with healthy boundaries. That usually will get you a lot further. And it doesn't send off warning bells in women's heads saying run. Next, toxic dating behavior and red flag. Any sort of emotional manipulation. For example, silent treatment, ghosting, all of these things. This podcast is specifically for women who are dating, who are 35 plus. We're all grown here. None of us should be engaging in these dating behaviors, nor should we be accepting these dating behaviors from another person. Why is it a toxic dating behavior? This is a sign of emotional immaturity, a lack of emotional intelligence, narcissistic tendencies that have to do with dominance and control, and abuse. Serious toxic dating behavior. And then in terms of it being a red flag, this is a person who's definitely exhibiting all of those narcissistic tendencies that in no way, shape, or form are going to go into a healthy, positive, fruitful relationship. Next, toxic dating behavior and red flag. This is another one I've heard many times. I've never actually been asked this myself. Men who are asking women what they bring to the table. So why is this a red flag? A person, usually a man, who has unhealed and unaddressed anger and or trauma around a woman who has potentially taken advantage of him in the past, specifically from the financial point of view, it shows they have not healed when they are asking this question. And now what they're doing is, instead of working on their healing, they are going to put the sin of that past person on every other woman they come across and make her pay, saying, basically, I need to understand what you have to bring to the table before I'll do anything. It's also a sign that he's not that interested in you. Because men who are genuinely interested in women, from what I've observed, they're not asking their dream woman what she has to bring to the table. They're not asking women that they're genuinely interested in what they have to bring to the table. This is also a sign of someone who is going to put minimal effort into any type of relationship. As a toxic dating behavior, I feel this applies because, and specifically the men that I know who were at this gathering who stated this is a sign of a man who has not had strong, positive male role models to show him how to date and court women. He wants to be courted and wants to once again put minimal effort into a relationship. He expects women to audition and tap dance for his attention. Also, there's potentially narcissistic tendencies and someone who is very manipulative because the question impacts, I have observed, this question impacts women the most who have potential father issues or feel the need for men's approval. If you hear that question, your red flags and antennas should definitely be up. Another toxic dating behavior and red flag that I've seen many times women exhibit, and some of my friends at the party were talking about it, were giving ultimatums. So giving ultimatums instead of having time parameters. This is a huge red flag, and I know it's something that many women do, and it has a lot to do with control issues. This is someone who also can have a lot of insecurities and feel the need to try to run things in their relationship instead of having an equal partnership. Why is this a toxic dating behavior? Because this is also someone who is always putting the outcome of their future on others. It can also ring that there is possibly some codependent behavior there. The difference is time parameters have to do with someone taking full responsibility of how they're going to spend and invest their time in another party. So instead of saying, I'm going to give John 6 months, or telling John, I'm going to give you 6 months to propose, or else, it's saying, John, I'm willing to invest this amount of time. This is my expectation. If this is not where we're at in the relationship, that's okay. We will part ways. Though I like you or even love you, I respect my time enough to say, this is not working for me. That is the difference between ultimatums and having time parameters. Next red flag, and I've seen this, I would have to say more in men and from some of my male clients than in women, but it can be either one. Someone not being able to handle a person disagreeing with them, and then also not being able to handle rejection. The disagreement, not being able to handle that, I've seen that more in women. And the not being able to handle rejection, I've seen that more in men. The huge red flag here is anger and control issues. If you can't handle someone disagreeing with, maybe they don't like the same cuisine you like, or like the same music you like, or anything like that, we're not talking about overarching issues. Yes, you should be on the same page with huge overarching structural issues. I'm referring to smaller things that really are of no consequence, like they're an outdoors person and you're not, but for some reason that gets you very upset, or they don't enjoy the same hobbies you enjoy. That's control issues. And probably a lot of insecurity. Now, not being able to handle rejection, that's also very unhealthy. Many women speak about this on social media platforms with the way men react on dating apps when they don't want them, or on social media, or even out and about, and these women are trying to be very polite in declining the men's offer, and the men get unreasonably upset instead of just saying, okay, moving on. That is a very scary place that you're putting a woman in, and it's not healthy. And who would want to pursue a relationship with a person who is that unable to control their emotions and handle rejection as a grown-ass man? Just saying. Huge red flag. So those are some of the toxic dating behaviors and red flags that came up during our conversation during this gathering. And like I said, we got into a debate, healthy debate. We all love each other. Going back and forth, some of the married couples chimed in about their perspective and how things have changed since they were on the dating scene. It was a really great time. But as I said, this list is by far not comprehensive, but just a little insight of some of the things that have come up. So in the next segment, we're going to dig into some questions similar to those I would ask a coaching client if we were exploring this subject during a session. Welcome to the Questions for Reflection segment. Now let's take a deep dive into some inquiring questions that can help you learn more about toxic dating behaviors and red flags that may be occurring in your current dating experiences. Remember, this is the interactive portion of the episode, and you can click on the link in the show notes to download the worksheet with all the questions and exercises that will allow you to follow along by recording your responses. So let's get started. Question 1. What are some toxic dating behaviors and or red flags that I've experienced while dating? Question 2. What are some toxic dating behaviors and or red flags that I've presented to others while dating? Question 3. Based upon my responses to the last question, how can the toxic dating behaviors and or red flags that I've presented be addressed? Please note, this is not about hiding or tricking anyone. This is about taking an honest look at our own behaviors and deciding to do things differently. No, it won't happen overnight, but the first step to change is awareness. Question 4. What's the easiest next step to take in addressing one of the toxic dating behaviors and or red flags that I present to others? Feel free to pick the easiest one. Actually, I want you to pick the low-hanging fruit on the list of things that you wrote down in question 2, because you want to start with the easy things, because of course they're easier to be addressed, whereas the more complex, maybe toxic dating behaviors or red flags that you're presenting are going to take some time and may be multifaceted, and the solution may come when you solve smaller problems or address smaller issues. Question 5. Going forward, how will I exercise greater awareness in identifying red flags and toxic dating behaviors in others? All right, so in the next segment, I want to share some of my personal thoughts on toxic dating behaviors and red flags. Welcome to the Just My Thoughts portion of the episode, where I give my personal opinion on a topic. This is just Janelle, an individual, and not Janelle, a professional coach. So after the gathering I had with my friends a few weeks ago, it really made me think about where people are coming from when they're entering into the dating scene. In Western culture, most people start seriously dating, I would say, in college time frame, early young adulthood. Now, some people start dating in high school or in middle school, but I mean dating with the ability and the funds and the authority, let's say, because you're an adult, to actually do things. So 18 plus. And then as you get older, there hopefully are some behaviors that you stop doing and other behaviors that you start doing just out of growth and maturity. And one thing after that conversation, that huge conversation and just that wonderful evening that I had with my friends, that I understood is overall, men have been taught many dating and courtship behaviors that are predatory, and women have been taught many dating and courtship behaviors that are toxic. So you get two bunches of people who are out here trying to actively date with concepts that don't serve them and aren't necessarily healthy. You're going to end up with a shit show. And 9 times out of 10, that's how people engage with people that are no good for them, aren't a best fit, are toxic, and a plethora of other things because of the perspectives people are coming from and what they've been programmed, taught, and seen. So I think the biggest thing is that we all have to work and unlearn some things we've been taught and learn new behaviors of engagement as we grow and evolve on this dating journey. One of the biggest things that I feel personally that it took me time to unlearn was the hiding or keeping things very light and surface for the first few dates. Now, granted, you shouldn't go in so serious like it's a court trial on the first date, not at all. But the important thing is, as I've gotten older, I realize I don't have to have this artifice or this facade up. It's expected of me to talk about certain things early on. For example, what I'm looking for or what I want. Now, granted, when you're in your early 20s, that might seem a little off because many people in that age range are just dating for fun. But at 35 plus, and I only at this point in my life have dated men who have been older than me, that's not a thing that would scare or had never has to date scared men when I've been honest about what I'm interested in up front versus, of course, dating behaviors, as I said, in the early 20s. Now, that was a big one I had to learn. Another behavior I had to unlearn was emotional manipulation from the perspective of, I know people have said, I'm sure many of you have heard it, if you like a man, don't call him, don't text him, ignore him. Though you should not be clingy and you definitely should have space and they should have space and you all should have enough going on in your lives beyond one another. Be communicative, be honest, but also be upfront about if they're playing games and be upfront with yourself about if you're playing games. Don't do that. Give somebody the same energy they give you. Absolutely. If you seem more interested than they are, acknowledge that. Maybe say, hey, this isn't for me. You're not that interested. But if they seem more interested in you than you are in them, don't just go with it for the sake of attention. Cut that off as well. Be honest with them. Once again, respect everyone's time, including your own. Signing off for now. Can't wait to see you next season. Bye-bye. Thank you for taking the time to join me today on this episode of The Successful Invisible. I'm your host, Janelle, and I hope you gained meaningful insights from today's episode. Remember to follow or subscribe to my podcast to get your weekly dose of coaching to a greater sense of self-awareness in dating. I look forward to you joining me again on next week's episode. Until then, I'm your host, Janelle, signing off for now.